You are now watching Earth News Channel. You can change your world.
This is East to West with Roger Frampton, coming to you from our rustic studios, here on the shores of the Bay of Fundy in spectacular Nova Scotia, Canada. Today's newscast is brought to you by GoDaddy and from the patrons of Patreon.com.
Hi, welcome to East to West. I'm Roger Frampton. It's great to have you with us. This is our very first newscast. On today's program, we're off to Canada's west coast in British Columbia to take a look at the mystical spirit bear. And then we're traveling south to Australia, visit with Reece Jackson. He's going to help us understand where the Earth is in the universe. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, that was my nephew, Devon, and his buddy on the west coast of Canada, just outside of Victoria, having fun on their skimboards. We're now going out to the west coast to meet up with Andrew Jennings. He's a guy that is a guide into the Great Bear Rainforest, taking people in to see these magnificent creatures. He's just started with a place called the Spirit Bear Lodge, and he's seen his first couple of white bears. It's going to be interesting chatting with him. I was there about 18 years ago with a biologist named Wayne McCory, and he showed me around that beautiful area. It's so magnificent. Okay, well, today we're welcoming all the way from the west coast in British Columbia. We're welcoming Andrew Jennings. Tell us about your personal experience. When did you first encounter one of these spirit bears?
Well, actually, it was only a few weeks ago now, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, being fairly recent, obviously. It was really neat. We pulled into a pass one foggy morning, and the fog was still lifting, and we pulled down, slowed the boat right down fairly early on. And the boat captain told everybody, well, this was the area where we saw the bear a few days ago. And as we pulled down this kind of mystical narrow channel, at the end there was a bull kelp forest that wouldn't let us go any further. And so we shut the boat off and we kind of drifted and hung out there for a few minutes. And we were lucky enough almost right away to get this viewing of this big white bear, big male white bear.
Wow.
Spirit bear came out of the forest and started walking along the shoreline. It was unbelievable.
It was funny. I had the same experience when I was working with Wayne there, going up the river. He said to me, look, if I see a white bear, I'll put my arms straight out like this. And if I see a black bear, it'll be like this. And anyway, we filmed black bears all over the place. And we were pretty much skunked. And then 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because the light was going, we had to get out of there really fast, right? So we trucked it down the river. And there, way ahead, about a quarter of a mile ahead, is Wayne standing there with his arm up in the air. None of us could remember, is that white or is that black, you know? And we came around this bend, and there was this beautiful bear just waiting to greet us. I'm going to put a picture of the bear up here. Not the particular bear that I saw, but this is one just like it. We called her Princess that day, and she stayed with us for 40 minutes. Just, fishing and, having a nap and doing the stuff that they do. But they are amazing animals. And so this is what happened to us. We were incorporating our production company at that time. So I'm going to show you something here. We incorporated and thought, there's no other name to give our company than white bear. So we called our company White Bear Production or White Bear Media. And you see there the sketch of the spirit bear on the screen there. And so it's been a really important bear for us. And that's why we wanted to check in with you today. Could you give us a sort of a weather report on how the bear is doing, how the bears are doing?
Yeah. Well, a weather report's good news, really, or at least steady news. My second white bear sighting I've seen this year, it was on Princess Royal Island, and Princess Royal, obviously, as you know, is quite the ecological area, amazing ecological area.
Yeah.
For these white bears. And we were just up a channel yesterday, actually, and we were cruising down, and we've seen a mother bear with 2 cubs that we'd never seen before, with one white and one black cub, and
Wow.
the mother was white.
And the mother was white. How unusual.
The mother
right?
was white. Yeah.
That is amazing.
So, pretty incredible find, pretty neat, and she was just right walking along the shoreline. Most of our viewings with the white bear is unfortunately it's only 10 or 20 minutes. They're not out a super long time. But it was really quite special. I heard from some of the other guides. So in general, they're doing pretty good. But of course, we have LNG threatening the coast, and Enbridge oil pipeline tankers coming right next to Princess Royal Island,
Really?
Down Douglas Channel and out into Hecate Strait. Of course, these ships being a kilometer long, carrying all sorts of crude oil out to Asia, and so there's quite the threat in our pretty near future here against the white bear, and of course all the other bears on the coast, as well as all the whales and other ecology that comes with the beautiful Great Bear Rainforest.
So, but as far as you're aware right now, the white bear, or we'll call it the Commodity bear for a second, because it's actually a black bear that has a recessive gene that about 1 in 10 or so have white offspring, right? Which is so for that mother to have a white cub and a black cub is really, really rare.
Yeah. Totally, exactly, and I would say that they're about their status quo. I wouldn't say they're super increasing or dropping off at all, but or at least yet, from what we found in their numbers, in their historic numbers, there's somewhat. But we've got to protect this area, and also in some of our rivers, some of the grizzlies are moving in and displacing them as well, or at least displacing the black bears. And of course, we know that the black bears in that immediate area will have that recessive gene that could possibly create a white bear too. So the black bears are almost just as important as the commodity or spirit bear or white bear.
Yeah, could you maybe, for our viewers are all over the world, so they may not quite understand this bear. Could you explain that it's not an albino, what it actually kind of looks like and feels like when you see it?
Yeah, right. So the best way to describe it is a black bear that is white. Like you say, not albino, so no pink in the eyes, no other discolorations or anything. There is sometimes some of my guests have kind of called it apricot or a little bit of red hair, sometimes on their backs or even on their faces. Funny little story. My guest, the first white bear that I saw, my guest actually, I called it AJ because that's my nickname here on the coast. Yeah. Stands for Andrew Jennings, and because I'm a redhead, as you can see with my beard, and it was my first bear. They nicknamed it AJ because it had red hair on its head too. But yeah, so these bears are basically bleached black bears, and they're exactly like you said. It's the recessive gene. 2 recessive genes come together in a male and a female, and they create a white cub.
Right. So you do really important work, Andrew. Showing people the fragility of that environment, guiding people into these areas that are normally unseen by a lot of people. And so we're very happy to be able to talk to you.
Awesome,
And,
that's great. Thank you.
Just want to encourage you
to like to make sure that my guests walk away not only with exceptional photos and experience, but also learning something, and taking away from this coast and realizing how fragile and under threat that it is.
Okay,
so it's my job as a guide and as a steward of the area and of the coast that I work in to really express that to people. So thank you very much for chatting with me.
No, not at all. Andrew, if somebody wanted to experience what you've experienced, how would they go about that? How could they get hold of you and tell us about the lodge?
Yeah, so Spirit Bear Lodge, we're a remote wilderness Spirit Bear Lodge is a remote wilderness lodge out on the west coast in a little town called Klemtu, situated in the Kitasoo-Hehe territory.
We'll put up a map here. Yeah.
And just hop online, talk to Michelle in administration, explore at spiritbear.com, I believe, or .ca.
We'll put up the link for you. Sure.
Or explore at spiritbear.com is the address, and feel free to look us up. We're one of the only lodges here on the coast that has a spirit bear at our back door. And of course, being called Spirit Bear Lodge, we tend to follow through on our sightings as much as we can.
Right. Well, it's one of those amazing experiences that for somebody to have the bucket list, it's like one of those must-do things to go and encounter your spirit bear. So thank you, Andrew, for being here. Keep up the good work there. And if you get any news about things going on the West Coast, Andrew, would you keep us informed?
I'd love to. Absolutely.
Great. We would really appreciate that. We could have you as our guy on the West Coast in the Great Bear Rainforest there. So if there are any ecological concerns that you have that come up, please contact one of our producers here at the Earth News Channel, and we'll see what we can do to get the story out.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's any kind of ruckus we can cause is awesome. We're unfortunately we passed the deadline, so or not the deadline, but the announcement that the federal government is now going to be backing Enbridge and wanting to get that oil out. So that came this last June. And we're kind of anxious to see how it's going to go. There's still talks between Enbridge and a lot of the First Nation communities, but I think there's about 9 First Nations communities here on the coast, including the Kitasoo-Hehe of the Spirit Bear Lodge territory, that are standing up against it together, and they don't want to allow this threat to the coast happen.
Okay, Andrew, thanks for this. We really appreciate it. You take care of yourself.
Great.
We'll talk to you again.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Not at all. See you now.
Bye-bye now.
We want you to be on East to West with Roger Frampton. Tell Roger what's on your mind. Talk with him about taking better care of our planet. Simply go to the earthnewschannel.com and click on the Eyewitness button for details. Go ahead. Tell your story and make a difference.
Okay, joining with us now is Reece Jackson. He is in Brisbane, Australia. So let's find Reece on our Skype feed here. There he is. Hey, Reece.
How you going?
Doing very well. You've got a great radio show going in Brisbane. Tell us about it.
I do. It's a science show all about cosmology and mainly astrophysics. So the physics of stars, how galaxies work, things like that. And I also talk about other science articles and get people to call in with questions. And we write specials every week. It's a gaining popularity show. I've been doing it for about 2 years, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to do and produce. We got endorsements from a few science journals and that. So that's great. It's really good.
So we've got a question for you for our channel today. So the one that we want you to wrestle with is, where are we? where is the Earth in relationship to the universe out there? You know, it's kind of funny. It's almost, to me, the analogy is almost like you wake up one morning and you're living on a desert island, and you don't know if there are other islands out there, and then you climb a mountain, you can see an island out there and maybe another one, but you're not sure how far that goes. So we've been kind of like that for a while, hey, on the Earth?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good way of looking at it. Although there's one major difference that immediately springs to my mind, and that is that on the Earth we have a coordinate system which allows us to determine north, south, east, west, and it's sort of an ultimate frame of reference, if you will, to where things are on the face of the Earth. We have a north and a south pole, for example, and we can get a good idea of where we are at relative to these fixed points. However, in the universe, we don't have these fixed points. Everything is relative. There doesn't seem to be a center or an edge to things, and so it can be a little unnerving, I suppose, to think that everything is both at the center and of the universe and not at the same time. It's a strange notion.
Yeah, well, there's a sort of an anthropomorphism that we think that we are the center of the universe, and it's about time that we realize
yes,
that we're not. And okay, so start us off, Reece. Give us the big picture. Whereabouts are we? Okay.
Sure. Well, the big picture is that we are a part of a supercluster. Now, to describe a supercluster, I can see you've got an image there.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to bring it up for you right now. It's starting to animate. Here it comes up.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's coming up now. It's on the screen.
Yes, I can see it. Okay. So that image is many different superclusters, and just so that you can view it with your own eyes, the tiny globs of very bright stuff. They are actually large clusters of groups of galaxies. And so we are in a cluster, or a supercluster, called the Virgo supercluster. And that Virgo supercluster is around 100 million light years across. So each one of those bright globs is about 100 million light years across, give or take. It's obviously a rough sort of estimate. So they're all different sizes. Now, if you zoom in on our supercluster,
maybe we should just mention that the animation that we're looking at is that an animation? It's not a picture of deep space.
Oh yes, of course.
It's a simulation. So where do you want to go next? Back to the supercluster? Okay.
So have a look at the superclusters. Yeah. Now, if you were able to zoom in on that supercluster, on one of the superclusters in that image, so when you zoom in, you'll notice there will be local groups, I suppose, or our particular local group is simply called the local group. There are around 50 galaxies within our local group, and there are around 100 local groups in a supercluster. So there is the Virgo cluster, which is the largest group within our supercluster, and then a bunch of other smaller groups, and we are one of the smaller groups that make up the Virgo supercluster, if you follow that.
Okay.
And so within our local group, our galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy are the two major players. We have the most mass, and if you look at the Milky Way galaxy, which is our own, of course, and you go about halfway out from the central bar. See, our galaxy is called a spiral bar galaxy, so it's got a small bar in the middle. Let me bring one of those
up, Reece. I've got a picture of a galaxy here. Okay, there we go.
Mm-hmm. So that galaxy is just a spiral galaxy. Now, in the center of that galaxy, you can see it looks like a bright glob. But if you would imagine that glob to be stretched out a little bit, sort of elongated, that would be more what our galaxy would look like, or the Milky Way. And if you could go about halfway towards the edge of that galaxy from the center, you would see that's where the Earth is situated, or that's where our solar system is situated within our galaxy, which is within our local group, which is within our supercluster, which is somewhere in the universe. Again, remember, it's important to realize that we don't have an absolute reference frame when we look at where we are in the universe.
So if we go back to the big scale again, do we have any understanding of what the shape could be of all of the supercluster?
resembles, and this is an analogy, I wouldn't take this literally at all, but it sort of resembles, I suppose, a sponge. I've given that analogy before, where you have filaments of sponge, and where the filaments join up, you'll have a supercluster. And in that that image before, the blue superclusters everywhere, each little glob being a supercluster.
Right.
That sort of resembles like a zoomed-in image of what a sponge might look like.
Okay.
But aside from that, when we look in all directions from our point of view, we see this structure everywhere. We don't see an edge to it. It doesn't seem to end. And where we can see too, called our cosmic horizon, that is about the limits of what we're able to see because of the expanding universe, which is slightly technical, but basically it means that we only have the visible universe to look at. Right. And within our visible little bubble, we can only see this sponge-like structure.
So beyond what we can see, then scientists theorize what the structures could be. And one of the theories that I've heard is that kind of looks like a big donut, that it's the toroid, perhaps, that all the superclusters could make this shape.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
We're delving into the realm of theoretical physics here, and there's a lot of great theories. My favorite, and a lot of scientists' favorite, mainly because it has the most supporting evidence for it, and it's also able to make predictions that we can test for, which is extremely important with any theory. And that is the inflation theory that says our universe is more like a bubble. And I like that idea. It also leads to the idea that we have multiple universes. So there could be an infinite number of universes that are kind of like bubbles in the foam of this inflation stuff, which is as detailed as I'd be willing to go on that, unless you really want me to go into, but that's quite a deep topic.
Well, just let's just condense it down as we sort of come to the end here of where are we. So right now you've got us like is it 2/3 of a way out on an arm towards
we are on the Perseus arm. If you want to do a little more research on this, so you can, I'm sure there's some great images on Google, but again, we can't really send a probe out to take a photo of our own galaxy. So we just sort of have artist renderings and whatnot. But we're about halfway from the center. So we're 25,000 light years from the center of our galaxy. So we're about sort of here, and the edge is out there. And our whole galaxy is 100,000 light years across. So we're halfway from the center, which is overall 1/4 of the entire diameter of the galaxy, if you can follow that.
Oh yeah, that's a great explanation. That's about as close as we're going to get, I think, for today's show. I know that then we come down sort of to the local area. We've got our solar system, and there are probably clusters of solar systems that we don't really know about at this point. Or
well, I suppose if you look out at the night sky and you look along the band of the Milky Way, you're seeing mostly stars. If you look outside of the Milky Way, you're seeing mostly galaxies. And by the outside, I mean either side of the Milky Way strip. So if you look along that Milky Way strip and you look at all the stars, each star has a solar system with very probably has planets. And the Kepler Space Telescope actually is trying to find planets around these stars by watching for the wobble of a star as a planet orbits. So it's very, very likely that these other stars are solar systems, like you say, local groups. Our nearest star is about 4 light years away. Right.
Well, Reece, I'm sure other folks would love to hear your explanations on your show. So are you available on the internet?
Yes, I am.
We can hear you around the world then.
Yes, everywhere around the world you can stream my show. I also have a podcast on iTunes. My show's name is called No Idea. That's KNOW Idea. You can search that on Facebook, find the page. Make sure you like the page too for anyone watching. And you can get at me with questions there, or you can find a link on that Facebook page to the radio program page. There's a little bit more information there.
Could you give the URL?
I welcome anyone to talk to me on that platform as well.
What's the URL? And we'll put it up underneath the screen here for you.
Okay, sure. It is 4zzzfm.org.au /program/know, that's KNOW -idea.
Okay, and we'll also put that on our website where people can find you. Great, Reece.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
I know it's pretty late there in Brisbane, so have a good sleep.
I will indeed. I'll leave you with one important point, I think, is that our solar system is situated exactly between two spiral arms in a relatively quiet neighborhood. So we've got it good here. Other neighborhoods might have a lot of radiation from stars. So I think we owe our peaceful existence to the situation we're in.
So we're in a kind of backwater, but it's a pretty quiet area of the cosmos.
We're out in the country. Yeah,
That's
we're out in the
nice.
country
I
in
like
the hills.
that.
Yeah.
I like to be in the country. Thanks, Reece. We'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.
No worries. Bye-bye.
You're watching the Earth News Channel.
You can change the world!
So that's about it for today's episode of East to West. Come to the end of our first show, and we're so glad that you joined us. We'd like you to participate with us on the Earth News Channel and East to West as either a journalist, a citizen reporter, somebody that's just interested in the way the planet is going. Send us your emails. Send us some video perhaps. Go to our eyewitness tab at earthnewschannel.com or click on the contact area. That'll give you lots of details about how you can participate in the Earth News Channel. Till next time, I'll see you soon.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join Roger Frampton here on the Earth News Channel. We consider ourselves fortunate to have patrons just like you who financially support the channel each month. If you would like to help us in continuing to bring important and engaging stories to our audience, please visit our website at earthnewschannel.com and click on the Patreon link to become an Earth News Channel supporter. If you are already a patron, thank you for your continuing and ongoing support.